A45S 4Matic Plus. Check out that rear wing. Oh, that's quick. Wow, cool strut race there with an AMG badge. Ooh, an AMG GTR Pro. What's up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this POV review by AutoTopNL. My name is Max, and today we've got the all-new Mercedes-AMG A45S 4Matic Plus. We are near Autobahn, near the factory of AMG and the home of AMG. Some beautiful forest roads we've got here. So today we're going to drive it on this gorgeous road, and later today or maybe tomorrow I'm going to take it to the Autobahn, which we will cover later in this review as well. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to receive updates when we upload a new video, and follow us on Instagram at AutoTopNL. So we've got a really cool spec today. I'm going to show you around it because we have the color Sonnengelb, which means sun yellow. It's a really nice color, especially because you get all those black accents on the car. So we've got the new Panamericana grille with all these black accents in the front bumper. It looks very, very aggressive from the front with those new headlights, of course. Some radiators behind there, and that one is closed. We have 19-inch AMG wheels with fake center locks, some red brake calipers, and some lovely Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires. Really good tires. The Turbo 4Matic Plus badge. More black accents around the car. And that is a GLB. So the 4Matic Plus, what is it? Well, it basically means that you do get drift mode in this car. I'm not sure that we can use it today, but we'll try. You do get drift mode, and it also means that there's a multi-disc clutch for each rear wheel in the rear differential. So that means that you can, of course, because you have the 4Matic Plus, you have up to 50% to the front and up to 100% to the rear of the drive. But furthermore, you can also go 100% to each side on the rear axle, which is pretty crazy, right? It has some nice quad tailpipes as well with an AMG badge. This, of course, is the most powerful 4-cylinder in series production, and you can actually hear that. There's some pretty decent sound coming from it. A nice diffuser as well incorporated in the rear bumper. And we don't have the optional rear spoiler, so we just have this little gurney flap, I'd like to call it, because it is quite steep, but this is an option. Check out that rear wing, that's massive, and it does give the car a much more aggressive look, I would say. So if you're interested in an A45, you can go for this stock or this standard spoiler, or you can go for this massive one. I think it looks good. Moving on, we'll take a look at the engine as well. So we've got, wow, cool strut brace there with an AMG badge. That's nice, but you can actually see the massive turbo right there. Very cool. So this delivers 421 horsepower and 500 Newton meter in A45S spec, which is a lot, and which, as I said, makes it the most powerful 4-cylinder engine in series production. On the inside, we've got a very nice spec as well. We've got the Amg Bucket Seats. Oh, put those back a little bit so you can see them better, with a lot of yellow accents. We've got yellow stitching all throughout the car, which looks really good on the doors as well, on the dash, on the center console. Yeah, this is a very good interior. I would say this is probably the best interior in its class. What do you think about the looks of this car? I'll walk around it once more. You can check it out. and you can vote in the top right corner and rate the exterior from 1 to 5. Go check it out. We've got a gorgeous AMG performance steering wheel as well, with a nice 12 o'clock marker in yellow stitching on the Alcantara, and of course we've got the new buttons right there with your driving modes and your traction control settings, all that good stuff. And of course, this being the new A-Class, we've got the dual screen setup. Start it up. Yeah, this is really good, and you can take a look at the ambient lighting as well. This feels like a very posh interior, and it's probably the only one that can say that in this class, because it is seriously impressive. Okay, so let's take it for a drive on this gorgeous road. But before we do that, you guys can rate the interior of this car in the top right corner. Go vote. So as I said, we've got the new buttons. As you can see, there are little screens in there with your driving modes, your exhaust, suspension, stuff like that. All right, so we'll put it in manual mode. Right there, the exhaust is open and everything is at its firmest. And you can hear, once you start driving it, you actually get some pops and bangs from the exhaust and on the upshift as well, which is really nice. Oh, but wow, this is actually the first time I'm driving this car, just to let you know. So you are, you know, joining me in my first impressions of this car, and I have to say that the steering feels really good. It has quite a quick rack. It's quite light, but you still can place the car really nicely. That's impressive. Brakes are good as well. Very well, they're there immediately, which is always nice. It is a very, very trick car, this. A lot of R&D has gone into this car, because there are actually, I always hate it when car manufacturers use terms like motorsport derived and stuff like that, you know, if they throw around those terms loosely. But this has actually some technology derived from Formula 1. It has some super clever nano slide coatings in the cylinders. So, you know, apart from all this trick stuff on the interior, and you can feel those differentials working, you can feel the 4Matic working. This feels like a much bigger and, to be honest, more expensive car. So what does this have to compete with? Well, of course, the Audi RS3, the BMW M2, cars like those. Well, I would say that this sits pretty much right in the middle of those two, because you do have that 4Matic system, like the RS3, but you can go for drift mode like the M2. So it's basically right in the middle of those two. But I would say that this car matches the M2 for excitement, something the RS3 is kind of struggling with, which is seriously impressive considering this is a 4-cylinder engine and it's competing with a 5 and a 6-cylinder. Okay, so let's go for race mode. That was all in comfort, by the way. Oh, I was completely lost there. Oh, that sound really changes when you have the in race mode. Oh, and it absolutely belts out of a corner. This is a really, really good combination between very sharp front end. You have a lot of grip. It feels like ridiculously neutral basically, but you really feel that a lot of power is coming from the back, but it doesn't change the fact that it feels really neutral, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I hope you guys get what I mean. So when I turn in, it feels really neutral, but when I throttle out of it, it feels like a rear-wheel drive car with a lot of grip. So the gearbox, we've got an 8-speed dual clutch gearbox, which, I mean, the gear shifts are so fast. It's really, really impressive. It's the same gearbox you can find in the A35, only in this it feels much more meaty and much more alert as well. I mean, that's a quick shift. You get that little bang on the upshift as well. So, what happens when you launch this car from a standstill? We will try that right now after this corner. We'll do that right here. No, that's too... Oh, this thing is seriously aggressive. Okay, we'll do it right here. So, foot on the brake, full throttle, race start. Oh, that's quick. And that should be 3.9 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, which is absolutely insane. That's actually just as fast as an Audi RS5. Yeah. Wow. That's seriously impressive. Okay, so let's take it to the Autobahn and see what it's like over there. Here we are, guys, at the unrestricted German Autobahn, where we can actually put this car through its paces. Yeah, I'm actually really curious to see what this is like over here, because this car is so powerful, it feels so fast that it should be a lot of fun over here. So we are going to use the drive selector to put the car in race mode, and then we're going to select this button right here to put the suspension in comfort mode. As you may know, you can click this button right here to switch what you want to change, and then you can use this button to actually change it. So exhaust, valves open or closed, start stop, traction control, suspension, gearbox. Okay, here we go, full throttle. So the suspension in its softest setting, you can hear that 4-cylinder belting away in the front and at the rear. They actually pump some fake sound through the speakers, or, well, it's semi-fake because there are some sensors in the exhaust which determine the sound that comes through the speakers into the car. So I don't know if it's microphones or sensors, but the sound does, it does sound really natural, so that's a good thing. Oh man, this car is seriously quick. The biggest difference, ooh, an AMG GTR Pro. What a coincidence. No, I'm just kidding. That's Martijn. What an awesome car, right? Oh, check that out. That looks so mean. Oh, he's showing off his watch. So the biggest difference between this engine and the engine in the outgoing A45 is that in the A45, in the previous A45, peak torque was delivered at 2250 RPM. That's 265. That's not bad. peak power was delivered at 2250 RPM. So that, and then it plateaued all the way up to 5000 RPM. So that meant that, you know, you got a lot of go from down low, and then it sort of stayed the same. With this engine, they tried to give it more of a naturally aspirated feel. So it now climbs all the way up to 5000 RPM, which means that, you know, it's actually rewarding to hold on to a gear, and it's rewarding to, you know, to really to really go through those gears and let those revs climb, which is a really good thing, because it completely changed the character of this car. It now feels really, you know, aggressive, and it feels more like a proper engine instead of like a heavily turbocharged engine that boosts up and then plateaus. So this engine actually has a hot back instead of a hot V, you know, from that engine in the GT-R and all those other cars, the 4-liter V8 bi-turbo. It has a hot V, turbos inside the cylinder banks. This has the turbo at the rear, as I showed you guys. But that does mean that there's a lot of hot stuff going on right there. So the turbo is actually air, water and oil cooled to make sure it doesn't run hot when you do stuff like this and you go on the Autobahn to do a couple of runs. I mean, this car is seriously impressive because it feels very, very, very hunkered down, and it doesn't feel like a hatchback basically. Is not great here. Brakes are really good as well. So why is this car so different? Well, of course that engine, the car is completely new compared to the last A45. It's a totally different car. It feels absolutely marvelous as well. And the biggest changes, of course, are that engine and the all-wheel drive system, the 4Matic Plus. So when you go into a corner, you steer into a corner, it will actually throw everything it's got, the most that is possible of the power, to the back, to the outside rear wheel. So that is what I meant when I said yesterday that it really belts you out of a corner. There's some really, really clever stuff going on here, and that's mainly because Mercedes-AMG invested so much money into the development of this car. Because of the last A45, they sold more than double of what they were expecting. So it was a big success. And you can really feel that with this one, they thought, okay, let's go even further. And they were thinking about going for a twin turbocharged 4-cylinder or one with a turbocharger and a supercharger. But in the end, they went for this setup and they just absolutely nailed it. This engine is actually built in the somewhat mythical upstairs room in the AMG engine plant, where they used to build V12s for Maybach and Pagani, which is really cool as well. I mean, I was not the biggest fan of the previous A45 because I thought that, you know, the sound, the engine, it all started to get a little bit boring after a while. Those pops and crackles were super repetitive. That engine felt like a one-trick pony. Now, because I know that it can be like this, it's even more clear that it was just that boost coming on and then it plateaued. That was what happened every time, you know? Boost, nothing. With this one, it just revs out, it feels delicious, and this is, well, by far, basically the best hot hatch out there. It is absolutely insane how good this car is. It really impressed me. So if you're interested in getting a hot hatch, definitely try one of these because it will blow your mind. And that's it for this review, guys. As you can see, I hit some Baustellen. I ignored my own advice to Martijn to get off at the last exit because I thought, well, I'll just do a little bit longer for you guys, but then I hit the Baustellen. So unfortunately for me, I'm not going to bore you with this anymore. I hope you enjoyed it. You can subscribe by clicking the big button in the middle. You can also check out this video or go check out this playlist. See you at the next one, guys. Bye.